Hey everyone, what's up and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I'm your host, Emily Hayden, and today I have a very special guest with us. She is a health coach. She is a pro tagger on Ultimate Tag Fox. She is an athlete, and she is someone who I recently met, I would say within the last, 2 years or so from Gold's Gym. So she's someone that I personally know, and I'm beyond excited to bring her story to you guys today because I'm actually so inspired by her level of authenticity on her platform. I don't think that I really see that absolutely anywhere. And so I know that there's a lot from her journey and from her, the way that she presents herself on social media in a way that we can all learn from. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Laura Micetich.
You nailed it.
Thank you. I was like leading up. I was like, you've got this. Say her last name correctly.
My middle school teachers were always so stressed when my name would come up on roll. So
Good. Laura, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, okay. For people that don't know who you are yet, can you give them a little insight to where you grew up, where you're from, like your background a little bit into where you're at now?
Sure. I am just a messy amalgamation of a lot of different identities. I think I'm Canadian, but I grew up in Tennessee.
Okay, sorry. I didn't know that you were Canadian.
You're like, get off the show.
No, it makes so much sense. Actually, oh my gosh. 3 of my 5 interviews today were Canadian.
Yeah, because you had Laura Lee as well, right?
Yeah.
She's like so Canadian.
Oh my gosh. I just love my Canadians.
Yeah.
If you're watching, Canadians, I love you. You guys are great. You're anyways. Sorry. So Canadian, Tennessee.
Yeah. So a lot of different, like just that diaspora of being from different places and not necessarily knowing where you fit in always kind of translated. And then I grew up and I decided I wanted to move back to Canada. I went to college in Canada. I loved it. And then I ended up getting a teaching degree and wanting to work with kids in Tennessee. So I've kind of just been all over the place. And throughout that whole experience, I have been in LA every second that I had a chance, every summer, in between semesters, all that stuff. I was working behind the camera for film sets and production design. So kind of all over the place with who I am.
That's really dope. When did you finally move to LA?
I moved to LA. Well, I moved to LA probably 3 years ago, but I kept going back for teaching. So my semesters would start, I'd go back. But then I officially moved in 2018. I had a tummy tuck and I was like, fuck it, we're moving.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so talk to me about your fitness journey then and what led up to you having a tummy tuck.
Yeah, so I grew up in like a really healthy, like loving family, and I just always struggled with my weight. I was a chubby little kid. I was playing all the sports and I was like captain of this and captain of that, but if you made me do cardio, I was going to hide in a shed. That's a real thing.
No running team.
No running team, but definitely like soccer, sports that would entail running.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I just grew up as a kid who always felt like an athlete but wasn't quite there. And then when I went to college, my weight skyrocketed. I was unattended. My meal card was unconfined, and I just ran with it. I had issues with food when I was a kid, but living alone and dealing with, your own emotional stresses and starting to understand yourself and college drinking and all of those things just created this epicenter of toxic relationships with food and toxic coping mechanisms. And then I was in a relationship in college that ended as I was leaving college. And that was a harsh reality that I had to deal with that just led to me really falling into my darkest place. And I was I was around 320 pounds and my family was really worried about me and I was really worried about me, and everybody sort of agreed it was time to change things. And so I thought about weight loss surgery at the time, which I decided I would, I wasn't going to meet with a doctor or talk to anybody until I could prove that I could stick to something that they were going to prescribe. So obviously, a lot of people don't know with weight loss surgery that if you have weight loss surgery, you have to stick to a very, very stringent diet and you have to be more active. And there's a lot of parameters that if you don't follow, they result in death.
Wow,
so
really?
Unlike when you're chubby and someone says go on a diet, the people that have weight loss surgery, their restrictions are a lot more defined and they're a lot more dangerous. So when I started to sort of adopt those to see if I could keep up with them, I just fell in love with it. I started going to the gym. And from there, I just dropped 120 or 130 pounds at the time and was so in love with weightlifting and bodybuilding that I just wanted to do it all myself. I think I just fell in love with the whole thing.
Wow, that's incredible. So when you finally made that decision for yourself that it was time to change, how was that process of going from, okay, it's just time to make a change, to logistically going to the gym? Like, were you self-conscious at the gym? What were some of the things that you dealt with back then?
Well, I think one of the most crushing things about trying to get healthy is that all you can imagine is like the Barbie doll version of you that you're going to be at the end of this, right? So you're like, if I get started, I'm going to look like this, I'm going to be like this. And all you can think about is rushing that process. You can only think about like, how long is this going to really take? I don't look like her yet, is really all you always hear.
Wow.
And I think when I broke down the idea into, when I was thinking about weight loss surgery, it made me slow down. It made me think about like, can I actually just show up every day? And can I slow down on, I don't need to lose 160 pounds. Because at the time I was going off of BMI, right? So everybody tells me I'm 6'1", I need to weigh 130 pounds. That's like what my number is. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I have to lose 200 pounds. That's a lot of weight. And I want to do it fast because I want the results now. And then when I slowed down and I was like, you don't have to lose 200 pounds. You have to lose 20 pounds. You have to show yourself you can stick to this. When I slowed down, it became a lot more digestible. It went from this astronomical idea of, you know, my Barbie doll to, can you just do a YouTube video a day? And I tell this story a lot because I think it's really relatable. When I started, we've turned on the video a million times, right? Like,
what video?
For me, it was Jillian Michaels, because she's a bitch. Like, she's mean.
Like, she motivates you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at the time, I had turned those videos on a million times. I had opened my computer and tried a workout video a million times, and I had always just been like, shit, I can't do this. Like, I can't make it through this. And I needed to make it through the video to feel like I had succeeded, right? Like, that was the whole thing. You need to see the end to feel like you're succeeding. And for the first time in my life, I just pressed play and got tired and slumped to the floor and was sweaty. And it was like 2 minutes in. I'm not even exaggerating. Yeah. 2 minutes. Dying on the floor, right? My dog is like worried I'm having a heart attack. Like, it's a whole scene. But I sort of took about probably 20 minutes sitting there. And I was like, you're never going to be able to do this. Like, what the hell? You suck. You are a piece of, like, all the things that we really do say. You're a piece of trash. Wow. You don't deserve this. Everybody else can do this and you can't do this. What's wrong with you? And then I realized I wasn't tired anymore. Like, for the first time ever, I was sitting there and I was like, you're not tired anymore. Just get back up and just keep going. So I pressed play, and that was it. That was like the first time it clicked to me that I didn't fail there. I just paused.
Oh my gosh. What you just said is like life-changing for people, because right now you're talking about health and a fitness journey. You're talking about losing weight, but this could literally be anything in life. Like, think about people in life and they're going after these things, trying to achieve a ideal relationship, an ideal business, and they're getting destroyed by this thing that feels like a failure, or it feels like a loss. In reality, it may just be a pause. It may just be a not yet. And if they'll just press play again, they'll left foot, right foot it. I always say, like, look down, say left foot, right foot. Was that really that bad? No, let me do it one more time. Even if it's something as simple as like you're doing cardio and it sucks, like, tell yourself left foot, right foot. Okay, I can do that one more time. I've done that for an entire run before, a 5-mile run that I never wanted to go on, you know? And I was able to finish my run that way by literally left foot, right foot.
One foot in front of the
chicken. That's it. Yeah. Like, that's the key. So, man, that's so powerful. I hope people just soak in what you just said. So, okay, so you pressed play.
I pressed play, I stood back up, and I did another 2 minutes. Like, it wasn't magic. I didn't suddenly make it through the video. I just kept pressing pause and then resting.
That's huge. And I think so many people, even if they're just taking on this fitness journey, they don't realize it's okay to pause. It's okay to try a workout program that someone gives you and say, you know what, I can't do it in this amount of time, but I can do it on my amount of time, to kind of figure out like what step it is that you're on, and then to kind of just operate within that step until you're ready for the next step.
Right. I tell my clients all the time, because I think this is I learned it with my middle schoolers, right? I saw it over and over and over, that tendency to see failure and internalize failure and consider it a failure. But if you're learning to read and first of all, if you don't know how to read yet, how the fuck are you going to write an essay?
Yeah.
And that's what I tell my girls all the time. I'm like, if you don't know if we're learning our fucking ABCs, calm down. We don't need to write the essay. We are going to get to write the essay.
Preach.
But what I love to tell them is, listen, you already walked 10 miles. We're going 20. You already walked 10 miles. Metaphorically, you're halfway there and you have two choices. You can sit the fuck down, calm the fuck down and rest and decide that's not failure and stand back up and keep going, or you can turn around and walk the 10 miles back. Because that's what you're doing every time you're every time you're going to a workout or missing a workout and deciding somehow you failed and you have to start the whole process over, you're turning around. You're using all the energy you would have used to move forward to move backwards.
Wow. So like instead of going from mile 10 to mile 11 and taking a break, you're mile 10 to mile 7.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
And we all do it. We do it whether we're in the gym or we do it in life, whether we're you have a bad relationship, you decide that you're emotionally unavailable for the next 6 years. Or you're like, or you
I don't know anyone like that.
But it's real. We have
It's hot in here.
Such a hard time saying, I'm not a failure. I just need to rest. I just need to slow down.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Woof. I'm gonna need a second.
Picks up her phone.
Little too triggering. No, really, you're speaking to me a lot here because it's true. It's like because I really do believe that everything we go through in life, it teaches us something, and sometimes we have those moments where we do need to press pause, and it's okay to press pause. It doesn't mean that there's never going to be another play again, but soak in wherever you're currently at. If you're at a pause, soak it in. When you're ready, press play.
Right.
Sorry, it's hitting every part of me right now.
No, I get that. I feel that too. I'm like fizzy. I'm like, be careful.
I love it. No, I love it. I'm here for it. I'm one of those people that it's like, I don't care what it is. I don't care how hard it is. If it's true, I want to know it, you know? And it's same thing like when I'm trying to become more self-aware to certain habits or patterns or mindsets or whatever it is, I want to know what it is, even if it's the hard thing, because I seek growth. I've made a decision in my life that I always want to choose the next best version of myself. And I can't do that by staying comfortable. I can't do that by staying in what I already know. I need to seek more. And that happens through reading books. It happens through challenging yourself, through having conversations with people that have clearly done so much work on themselves. You know, like this is cool because I get to bring you to my audience, but just like the one before you, I'm sitting here learning like so much, so exponentially. So what is something that you do in your life to continue that learning process or continue that growth process? Because clearly you've gone through this massive, you know, physical transformation, but just even from having this conversation, like you can tell how much work internally and mentally that you've done as well. So what is something that you continue to do to make sure that you stay like sharp mentally and you stay on that growth path?
I think one of the most aggressive versions of self-work that I have had to do is I now coach women who I was. Wow. So I stare at the same excuses day after day. And I tell my girls all the time, it's like, I know what it's like to go to that Christmas party and hold your breath and just look at everything that you want to eat and everything that tells you you're a failure and know I can make it through this. I'm on track. I want to stick to it. And I know what that feels like. When I talk about it, I get shivers. I've been there. But I also know what it feels like to let out a big sigh at the end of the party and somehow find yourself in a Wendy's drive-thru.
Wow.
I know what that feels like. And to constantly be affronted with that image reflected back at me and know that I have to keep doing that work with them is hard. It's hard to get on a call with strangers that you don't know if you're the right fit. And it's hard to tell them they're not ready. If they're not, it's hard to check other people for the same things you carry. And I mean, it's hard to be in a space where you are always supposed to be the successful version. And I found that I ended up going from being like the fat kid who turned into an athlete bodybuilder to working with the pros and helping train them on the floor. And I found out they're as fucked up as I was. Like their relationship with food is as tragic and broken, and their relationship with themselves is as tragic and broken as mine is. And nobody's talking to them about working through that. It's just put on a face. And at that time I was like in social media, everything I was putting on this perfect perception of like, I look thin. I've lost a bunch of weight. I'm shredded right now. I'm a badass female trainer. Fuck that shit. No, I'm not. I'm just a girl who wants you to talk to me. What's going on? Why are my guys struggling to put food in their mouths? Why is a refeed the worst thing in the world for some of you? What's going on? And why are you so broken? Talk to me.
Like, so what you're talking about is going from having this like facade to just being like the truest version of yourself that's open and vulnerable for those kinds of conversations. And I think sometimes the reason why it's not talked about is because sometimes people don't have a space to talk about it with.
100%. I think when it comes, whether you're obese or you're the most skinny little beautiful thing, your shame is your shame. And for some odd reason, we think we're the only person who carries that. And like working with my clients, but also just being so vulnerable, like opening up has let me see that other people so desperately want a space where they can do that too. And I have become that space for some people where it's just okay to talk to me. Like you can tell me what you're thinking, even if it's the most, I guarantee the most shameful thing you want to say, 20 people in the room feel it too.
Wow.
Like that's okay.
That's powerful because I think so many people have their thoughts and emotions and they feel so alone in it. So I think that what you do by being so transparent and open is by providing a space for people to simply see that they're not alone. And if they're not alone and if other people have walked through it and they've come out of it, they can too. So it's cool how your personal journey of going through what was first just a weight loss journey and, you know, getting your shit together has turned into you actually diving back into what used to be you. And I say used to be you, but just like you were highlighting, it's stuff that's always there. It's stuff that you always have to deal with and stuff that you always have to work through. So I know that I speak for myself and everyone that already follows you on Instagram and everyone that's going to follow you on Instagram that's listening to this, to say thank you, like for leading by example. I feel like a true leader is not someone that stands at the front and barks orders, but a true leader is someone who walks through the path, walks through the experience and then says, hey, let me show you the way. Like I've walked through that.
Well, I think one of the most important things to say there is to remind everybody that nobody is a success story.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, like you walked through it. I'm still fucking walking through it, people. Like the only difference is now I will talk to you about it because when I was heavy, I was the most guarded I've ever been in my life. My walls were completely up. Anything that you asked me, it was like I had armor on all the time. I wore a face full of makeup because I didn't want anyone to come too close to me and think I wasn't beautiful. I everything was coordinated and my clothes were on point and everything was expensive and I was on it and I was alone. Like I was so lonely. And when I stopped caring, like took the face of makeup off and took the, walls down, yes, I am far more open than I was, but I am also not done. I am not at a place where I can talk about everything. I am not at a place where I'm a success story.
Right.
Nobody is.
Work
I hope.
in progress.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because it actually does show that you've done a lot of work on yourself, because I think the more that we realize about ourselves, the more we go through, the more we realize we're like, wow, there's a lot there.
There's more to do there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why even in conversations, I'm like, oof, okay, there's something.
Bullet point, coming back to that.
Yeah, let me put that in the note section.
Yeah.
So on your Instagram, you were going off the other day about, it might not have been the other day, but I had written it down, and you were talking about people who were always waiting. They're like always waiting for something to come, or always waiting for someone to save them, or always waiting for the perfect time. So I feel like you have personal experience attached to that. So what do you say to the people that are sitting there waiting for someone else to come save them or help them with, their life or their goals?
Right. I think we spend so much energy waiting to be ready for whatever it is, like waiting to be worthy is really what it is. It's not even ready. It's just worthy, like willing, ready. I want someone to see that in me, and I want to see it in myself. But it's that growth mindset we talked about. You aren't ready. You aren't worthy. Work for it. Like get started. And I think I always thought that I would wait and I would be happy. And what honestly, where that comes from is I thought when I lost the weight, I would be good. I thought if that wasn't there, I would be done. And I waited, right? Like I was so scared when that was gone, I would be okay and everything would be solved and I would be expected to be good. And I spent my whole life thinking using the weight, right? Like once the weight's gone, everything will be better. So I'm going to keep this here. This is my thing. This is the thing that I need to work on. This is my safe space. And when I stopped waiting and I started working just a little, right? Like chipping away at things, when I stopped waiting for the right job or the right partner or the right, moment or this lightning strike. And I just started thinking like, you should start chasing your now. You're writing your now. The biggest realization I had was I'm writing my whole story. Like I'm the only person writing my own story and nobody else gives a fuck. No one's watching. No one cares. Nobody cares what you do with your life. They all love you. They support you, but they don't care. You can do anything you want. And when I realized I didn't have to wait for all of these pieces to fit, that I could just seize the moment. The weight loss wasn't the thing I ended up fixing. I fell in love with this. I fell in love with showing up. It stopped being like, how much more weight do I need to lose? And it started being something I loved to do.
Like a new part of your life.
Yeah. And I stopped waiting for, if I was still waiting to be 130 pounds like the BMI, I'd be screwed.
Right. Right. Wow, that's actually so important because I feel like a lot of people think they'll be happy when they achieve their goal. They'll be happy when they have the right relationship, the right business, the weight loss, the whatever. When you don't realize if you don't deal with the stuff that's inside right now as you're going throughout your journey, you're not going to be happy when you achieve that ultimate thing.
100%.
Yeah. What do you think is like the biggest holdback that you see from your clients when getting started? Like what are some of the common like excuses that they have or reasons why maybe they're like, oh, I'm not ready to start yet, or what is that?
I'm taking 2 spots for the holidays. So it sounds like not a lot, but
like you're opening up for
I'm opening up two spots because the holidays are the worst.
They are.
And I had I think I had 11 calls today. And I said no to all but one.
Wow.
But one of the girls that I said no to, or I said, I don't think it's the right time. She sort of let me know like, yeah, I agree. Financially, I don't know if I'm in the right spot, but also I want to get through the holidays and then I want to start and I want to like put my all into this.
After the holidays.
It's not even after the holidays. It's what the hell is put your all into anything. There's no right time. Everybody thinks that when they get started, it's magically all going to fall into place, right? They're going to be good at it. Yeah. I'm going to be good at macro counting.
Life's not going to throw you left and right curveballs. Yeah.
We're in a freaking we're in a pandemic. Like, what are you guys talking about? But hearing her say, I want to wait until after the holidays so I can put my all into it, I snapped on her. And I was just like, pause right there. That's the most toxic thing you said on this call. And you said a lot of toxic shit. But first of all, stop waiting. Stop waiting for, the crap to be done. Your whole life is crap. God, everybody's whole life is full of crap. And if we could do everything in a vacuum, we'd all be successful at everything. But the waiting is the problem. The thinking that when you sign up for something or you agree to something, you're magically going to be good at it. And if you're not good at it, it means you're a failure is a problem. You're not going to be good at it yet. That's, again, the reading thing. If I told a little kid that they were never going to be good at writing essays because they're struggling to read, like how dumb does that sound?
I always make a joke. It's kind of like, when you teach a kid to ride a bike, you don't like punch the kid for not riding the bike on the first time,
Unless you're the worst person ever.
I mean, unless you're like an abusive parent. I don't know.
Taking a turn.
This might go left.
But
No, but really it's like you allow that teaching process. You allow the learning process. And so I think we have to be able to do that for ourselves as well. Allow ourselves the capacity to say, I tried this. I didn't get it quite right. Let me try something else again. What is the main approach that you take with your clients that have, I mean, I can only assume that you have clients who come to you, they have these like massive goals and they want to achieve them now. So like, what is the approach that you take with clients that come that do have that much longer term goal realistically, but in their head, they want it yesterday?
Right. Well, I have 2 rules before I bring anybody on the team, which is number 1, you can sign up with me for 3 months, 6 months, I don't care. But if any part of you thinks you're going to be done with this in anything more than a year, if any part of you thinks you're going to be done in a year, I don't want you. You're not ready. If if you want something so badly that it is the most important thing to you and you have a time limit on it, you don't want it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want it. You just want it now. And that's
Wow.
not real. So that's the big rule, is you have to be able to look at me and tell me I would work at this forever if it worked.
Wow.
And I think that's, I mean, looking back, I would have given, if I knew that it would work, like, and you can ask anybody this. You can ask anybody when they want something badly enough. If it would work, if I could guarantee it, I could give you a contract and tell you 100% this will work. Everything will go right. You just have to do it. Wouldn't you do it?
1,000%.
Yeah. Anything.
Yeah,
everything.
without
Anything
blinking.
you want, you would do it if you knew you couldn't fail. The harsh reality is you can't unless you stop. Especially with fitness goals, but with anything. If you want to build your business, if you want to do any of those things, you go bankrupt 8 times. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But keep showing up. If you want it, work for it. Even if it doesn't come to you easily, just keep going.
Yeah. How do you, I love this because essentially you're talking about embracing, I hesitate to even say like failure because it's only failure if you quit, I think. But you're talking about embracing these moments that feel like failure, these moments that feel like you got off track again, or you messed up, or you're imperfect, or you're a human being. So how do you teach your clients to essentially like take those hits and keep going? Like when they come to you and they're like, hey, this weekend I messed up again, and they're like super down on themselves, they're about to quit. Like what is it that you tell them like to help get them back on track?
I think so much of the way that I relate to my girls, number 1 is personal experience. Number 2 is working with bodybuilders. But number 3 is being a teacher.
Yeah.
So growth mindset for me is the most obvious way to learn, right? Anything I'm going to teach my kids, they are going to be bad at. And then they're going to be okay at it. And then they're going to be bad again. And then they're going to be good. And I don't care.
Yeah.
I do not. You will never receive shame from me if you keep trying.
Yes. Amen.
And so I think the most important part of any journey is recognizing that you don't deserve to be good at this yet.
Damn. That's a dose of reality right there.
Yeah.
Like work for it.
Yeah. Not just work for it, but what makes you so special that you don't have to keep struggling? This is the problem, is we put up these walls where we keep things a secret, right? Like, oh, I have an eating disorder. I have multiple eating disorders. When I got my thinnest, I relapsed into bulimia. I don't care.
Wow.
If we keep telling people that we are perfect, they keep thinking if they're not, they failed. It's our fault.
Wow.
It's the way we raise our kids. It's the way we speak on our platforms. If all they see is perfect and I don't show any chinks in my armor, then I've done a huge disservice to everybody I'm speaking to, because I'm not there. And you don't have to be. What makes you, the only reason they think they have to be perfect is that everybody around them says they're perfect.
God, that's so true. And never shows their blemishes, never shows the mess up, never shows the hard mental days. Something that you do beautifully on your platform is you show like the realist and the raw that I think I've ever seen. What inspired you to start doing that? Because I think that there was, since I've known you, I feel like there was a shift. So I'm curious, like, what inspired that shift and what inspired you to share that openly on your platform? Because that's huge. You have a big platform. It's a lot of eyeballs watching and seeing you be the most vulnerable version of yourself, which is scary because if you're open, if you're vulnerable, that can mean, you know, you're open to whatever kind of criticism or whatever. So how do you handle that?
I think when I fell truly in love with bodybuilding, I thought I needed to look like the girls on the stage, which fair enough. Maybe I do. Maybe I want to 30% of the year, or maybe I think about that. When I relapsed in my bulimia, and I felt utterly and wildly alone and felt more shame than I ever felt at 320 pounds, I realized I was killing myself. Like, not from my eating disorder, just from trying to look perfect. And a couple of things changed in the last little bit. Number 1, the things you want to hide are the things you need to show. I have so many videos on my phone from when I was before my loose skin surgery that are me pulling at my skin and trying to understand, where is this coming from? Why my body will always look bigger than people who were never overweight because I have loose skin all over my body. But I would never tell anybody that a year ago. A year ago, I would never have brought it up. And what I realized the other day, I think you're talking about the videos probably where I was pulling at my skin, is that something happens with time where you just stop feeling shame about things. It's not that they go away. You just stop feeling shame about things. And I realized that something that was the darkest thing in my world, right? Like these videos that I had secretly taken and I had internalized all of this doubt. I just didn't feel shame about them anymore. It didn't mean I suddenly love my loose skin. Let's not lie about it. Like I still pull at that shit. I will openly talk about it. But I don't feel shame around that anymore. And what happened was I posted videos of pulling at my loose skin. And in the past I had done a little here, a little there. Yeah. And then I was like, I don't feel bad about anyone seeing this anymore. And I started pulling out more and more. And I realized that the more that I expose this, I kid you not, thousands of responses, thousands, like more than I've seen in a long time. Not more likes, not more follows, more responses, more women reaching out to me individually and saying, thank you. I've never seen somebody that I want to look like still look like me. Wow. If that makes sense. Like it wasn't like they've seen women who are overweight, who have lost weight. That's a normal thing. Everybody pulls at their skin. That gets you likes.
Oh, gotcha.
Right? They've seen women who look perfect on stage, who have paper thin skin.
Right.
That gets you likes.
Right.
They have not seen a woman who can look like she's in shape and still carry the same insecurities that they carry.
Wow.
And that was sort of when I realized I wasn't pulling at my loose skin for likes, and then I needed to show it. And the other thing that happened, not to embarrass him, is for the first time in my life, I ended up in a relationship with somebody who I didn't feel judged me for any of those things. I could put those out there and nobody was going to think less of me. When you start to kind of expect yourself to be unapologetically in love with you, other people do it too. Like other people are there for you in that space, and they don't judge you, and all the judgments you have about yourself, they just kind of fade away.
Do you feel like your relationship helped your self-love?
I do. I think I didn't know that. It's kind of weird because he's literally like sitting here. I didn't know that relationships could feel like that, where you were just cool. You were fine. The person thought you were
fully
fine.
accepted for who you actually were.
Yeah. Like I'm kind of in a phase of my life. I think what happened was I got to a phase of my life where I was unapologetically myself. Like I'm not sucking up to you. I'm not like pretending I'm somebody else. And I didn't date for a few years where I was just like, you know what? I have done the toxic. I have done the shape me, mold me. What do you need from me?
Oh God.
I'm in a hard pass on that. And I out loud, I made a commitment to myself. Like I will not do another relationship unless it's like one of those relationships where someone is so in love with you that you have to be with them. Like that's the kind of love. I'm not doing that version. I'm not doing this half-ass bullshit. I need to see if real love is what they're all talking about, or if it's all bullshit. And if it's all bullshit, I don't want it anyway. So I'm just gonna pass. And if it's real, then I guess I gotta do it. And then I accidentally got one.
I love that. I accidentally got one. Okay, so now that we're on this subject, can we talk about how you guys met? They both look at each other. Is this okay to talk about?
Yeah, it's fine. We met at Gold. Do you remember Dominic from the front desk?
Yes, I do.
Dominic got a roommate who grew up in the same hometown as him. And they were little goofy guys. I think that Jake was leaving the gym with Dom and I scared the shit out of him.
Shut up.
I was
on purpose?
No, I didn't know him. I was just wildly loud in myself and like goofy. And he was like, oh no, I can't stand her.
Oh, shut up.
True. Look at him. He's like, yeah, she's going to be awful.
Wait, that's amazing. Okay, so what switched? Clearly that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I'm adorable.
She's like, I'm irresistible.
I didn't care. I didn't even know he didn't like me. But what happened was we ended up hanging out with time because Dom and I were really close friends. So we ended up hanging out. And then to piss Dominic off one night at dinner, Jake and I we were like, should we just make out in front of him to piss him off? Like, because I
like a
wasn't
joke.
dating. Like, that's not a thing. And
Yeah,
then we
yeah.
were just like, what are the... And we did. And then it just sort of...
And then you're like, wait,
oops,
what is
crap.
this?
Yeah. Crap.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait, that's awesome.
Oh, I did their podcast first. I did their podcast, and it was like, there was a little chemistry, and then that was it. It was all
And
she
yeah,
wrote.
and then you're like, haha, we should kiss. Haha, do you want to kiss?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you. You're stuck. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Not to say this is perfect and it's going to end in marriage and we'll be
Of
together the rest of our lives,
Of
but
course.
having people be okay with you is a big deal.
It's huge.
Like, not having to be anyone but yourself is the most... I don't know if it comes with age and I just equated it to self-growth. I don't know what happens, but you really just are like, actually, this is me. Take it or leave it. And
Totally.
people will just take it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it definitely comes with like age and maturity and experience. And also, like, for those of us that have tried all the other ways, you're just like, that's all exhausting and I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
I'm officially clock me out. I'm done with this. I don't want anything unless it's the real thing.
Yeah. I
find
got
it-
too much work to do.
Exactly. Dude, I find it so interesting how, like, I don't really think anything is too much of a coincidence in life. And I find it very interesting because you guys are the third couple today that I'm talking to that have just like this like awesome teamwork, you're completely yourself type of love. And it's giving me a little hope. So
Aw.
thank you guys.
Hold out. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, no, I definitely am.
The rest are garbage, though.
I agree. Not everyone. I've met some really great people in my life. I digress. So not to get too off track here, you've done some really incredible things like on TV, some fun, dynamic things. Tell me a little bit about that, about the opportunities that you've had and the shows that you've done and what that was like.
Well, I don't really think anything happens by accident either. The last few years have been weird for me. They've been fun, and I've kind of just said yes to everything. So any opportunity that falls in my lap, I'm going to take. I was working as a bodybuilding trainer, and I had relapsed in my eating disorder. And showing up to work every day had become harder and harder because my coach was also my boss.
Right.
Right. So I was constantly showing up and having binge eaten or thrown up or not done anything, but just felt an atrocious amount of shame that my body wasn't keeping up to snuff with what it should have been. So I was supposed to go into work, and I opened my Facebook, which who the fuck does that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
I don't use
I
Facebook
opened my
anymore.
Facebook, and there was a message from this stranger with like 100 friends. And I was like, okay, whatever. Open the message, and it's this woman, and she's like, hey, we're casting for this TV show. I know this is like an off chance. The casting or the interview is in like 20 minutes. If you can make it. It's LA.
What?
First of all, I can't make it.
Yeah.
Second of all, who are you? There's no way to fact check this. I'm really just taking a chance. I did not want to go to work. I didn't want to go to work that day. There was nothing that was going to make me want to go to work. So I messaged her back, and I was like, yeah, send me the details. Oh, fuck it. Maybe I die. Maybe I live. I don't care.
Oh my God.
So I show up in the middle of central LA, and I'm like, this seems weird.
Yeah, that's a little shady.
Yeah, and
I don't know if I suggest this.
It's like an abandoned warehouse, and I'm
Okay.
trying to find the entrance, and it's not happening. I start like pinning my friends. I'm like, this is where I am.
Okay, so you-
right,
okay.
like I'm taking precautions. Empty,
But still goes into the empty
yeah,
warehouse.
still, yeah. So I walk in, and I'm like, this is freaking weird. I walk in. It is a huge warehouse, like the size of a Big Lots, and they have a giant obstacle course, like not like Ninja Warrior, like the weirdest, well, like Ultimate Tag. They have this,
Oh.
but it's not like Ultimate Tag. It's made out of wood. There are nails sticking everywhere, and it's a bunch of grown people in little pads and helmets running into each other and doing crazy flips and insane movements. And I'm thinking, like, what is going on here? Like, are these people on drugs?
Right.
And I go in, and they hand me a football helmet, and they're like, have you ever done anything like this? And I was like, oh yeah, I played flag football in Tennessee. I got this. And
Oh my God, I love this. You go into this environment, you're like, yeah, sure, I got it.
I got this. Like, I've played this no worries. Something psycho flips in me and is like, this is made for you. That's like what happened is I was there and I saw all these people doing crazy things that I could never do, like flips and parkour and all this shit. And all that I heard in my head was like, this is made for you.
Shut up.
And I strapped on my helmet and they were like, play it up, like be your character. And I was like, yeah, no problem. And like walked on the floor, beast mode, loved every second of it. And it was the first time as a grown adult, a grown 6'1" woman who played football, like I have not gotten to hit anyone in a long time.
Oh my God.
So I was so excited. And I just remember like being so in love with it, being so excited. And they were like, yeah, you got it. Let's do it. And 3 weeks later, we were on the lot. We were moved into a hotel. They had us living in Burbank, and we were filming, and that was that. And it was like, I don't think I did tag because I was supposed to do tag. I think I did tag because I needed to get out of the environment I was in, not because there was anything wrong with the people I was with, but because I was supposed to get out of there. I was supposed to just be released from whatever was going on, and tag did that for me. And I met amazing people who just truly like loved who I was, and I didn't have to put on some facade of being perfect or anything. And I mean, it wasn't something I was good at. Like, it was the best parkour athletes in the world next to Laura Micetich, the soccer player who hides in a shed.
Right.
But for some reason, it just felt right. And it ended up working. And it was probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had with the greatest people I've ever met. And it's one of those that I like to live my life in a way of like, how many stories am I going to have to tell? And that's like one of the best stories I will ever get to tell.
Wow, that is so incredible. So I don't know that I would recommend going into an abandoned warehouse. Like maybe definitely bring a boyfriend or somebody with you.
Only if I feel like if you're 6'1", you have a small advantage. What are they going to do?
I mean, that's true. But truthfully, like you taking advantage of just kind of feeling like, I think I'm going to do this. And then you go, and then having that mindset of like, no, I got this. It was able to provide for you like one of the most amazing experiences, which I think is just so cool, because I think people get so stuck in their habits, their habits. I meant to say their habits and their patterns. I just combine them
Lord of the Rings
to save time. Lord of the Rings. Sometimes I like to save time, so I just combine my words, create a new language. Thanks. But they get stuck in that, and they don't go after these new opportunities or these new things that come across their plate, which may not be their ultimate reason for things that they're doing, but maybe it's something that sets them free from something that they can't get away of right now. So, question: you said that you had like basically relapsed when you were still in that same position, and then you went on this, you got this job. Was it like, were you still back in that relapse, or was it like an immediate, like you were happier so you weren't in there? What was that process?
No, absolutely not. I had been holding, I say this to my girls, I say this to everybody, but there's something that happens where you're like holding your breath for a really long time, like you can't breathe. I was so scared to fuck up when I was in the environment that I was in that I wasn't. But I knew I was going to. I knew it was like, I knew I was relapsing before I relapsed, if that makes sense.
Wow.
When I went to tag, and I don't know if anyone knows this, but I was binge eating I was alone in my hotel room at the end of the night, and I was coming off of that feeling. That's when I relapsed. I came in at the leanest I had ever come in for that show, and we were about to be on camera, and I wanted to stay small. And I was unattended, right? Like when you have a coach, you have to check in with them. But when you finally tell your coach, like, hey, I am relapsing, I can't do this right now, there's time where nobody's watching you. And you have to make a choice of whether you're going to fight through this or you're going to go through this. I went through it. I mean, I relapsed hard into my binge eating. I was in a fugue state at night. I was like not myself. And it took me several months to pull out of that, in the sense of like, first I relapsed hard. Fat Sal's every night, you know, really relapsed. Mozzarella sticks on your sandwich kind of relapsed.
Oh, yeah.
And then I pulled back out and was like, I want to get back on track. So it became, what can I eat and still stay relatively thin? And then it became falling in love. I changed up my training. I changed up my expectations. I just had fun with it again, and it sort of shook off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest thing that helped you going from the relapse to getting back to like basically back being on track and out of it? What's like some tips that you could give for somebody who's maybe struggling?
I think I fell out of love with it.
Oh, wow.
Is what really happened. I was training so aggressively, and it mattered more than anything in the world. I was in the gym with with myself and with the clients from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. We were in there all day. It was my entire identity. And what I looked like was my entire identity. And I fell out of love with it. I was exhausted and I was tired and I felt unappreciated and I just didn't like it anymore. And it took me fucking everything up, like nuking everything, you know, throwing it all away.
Wow.
No more Jay Cutler interviews, no more anything like that. But I fell in love with it for myself again. So I fell in love with training. I fell in love. I'm working with a coach now. I love like that put your head down and just do your shit kind of mentality. I love it, but I just forgot for a while. And that's what I think a lot of times that relapse comes from not knowing who you are or like not feeling confident in yourself in that moment. And you just are, a lot of what binge eating is you're really good at being everything for everyone. And most of the girls who come to me, nobody believes this because everybody just looks at somebody who's overweight and thinks they're lazy. These are the hardest fucking working people in the world. They are doctors, they are lawyers, they are teachers, they are moms. They work their ass off for every single person in their lives. They will show up for you and they will make everything look okay for everyone else. And then they have to deal with the fact that they're not okay.
Wow.
And that's what binge eating is. It's not just, you know, I'm fat, I'm lazy. It's I take on everyone else's emotional burdens for them. And now I have to sit with it and I have no way to cope. And nobody teaches them how to cope. And nobody teaches them that, you know, bringing on that emotional trauma is going to need a release. And being that person for everyone when you are breaking inside does not serve anyone. That's, I mean, I think that's the hardest part for people to realize is like the people struggling with their weight or their food, it doesn't mean that they're lazy. It means that they're breaking.
Wow, that's huge. And it's like, I think if people had more of that realization, then maybe they could support and be there for them in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
So how were you finally able to focus on yourself? Maybe like, what are some things that you did? Maybe it was like real things like, you know, I don't know, some things that you did, or if it was just a mindset shift to help you decide like, no, I have to focus on me.
I think number one, you are never going to live in a vacuum. So you can't focus on you 100% of the time.
Right.
So breaking down what that really means, I think we have a finite amount of energy, right? And so if you're dealing with work and you're dealing with family and you're dealing with everyone's bullshit, the problem is that a lot of us also deal with stressing about when am I going to get my workout in? Oh, it's 9 a.m., but all I can do all through the day is think about when I'm going to squeeze that workout in. What is my food going to look like? I'm going to stress about my food all through the day. Am I going to fail? Am I going to stay on track? Am I going to be good? Am I going to be bad? I think we spend all of this emotional energy that we don't have on worrying about failing. And we don't spend any of that energy on action. So a lot of the times, whether it's me or somebody, even from like pro athletes, we know this, that if all we're thinking about is what we're doing wrong and how we can fail, we don't have room to actually act. I think the biggest realization for me was like, number one, I can't fail at this. I love to do this. All I have to do is put one foot in front of the other and keep showing up. But number two, the energy I'm using to think about this is wasted.
Yeah.
I think with this, like, we spend a lot of time on self-help and self-growth and all of these things and psychoanalyzing ourselves and churning the like butter of who we are, right?
Like information overload.
Yeah. But how much of that time is really spent on action?
Yeah, and applying what you learn.
Yeah.
It's one thing to like read books or listen to podcasts. It's another thing to say, okay, so I listened to a podcast on, you know, talking about maybe it's binge eating or whatever. How am I applying that to my situation in order to help me? And I think people, I agree with you. I think people lack that step of applying. The application is so important because if you just sit there and consume information all day long, it's not going to do any good for you. You're just going to in one ear out the other. And then it's like you're moving from stimulation to stimulation, never actually growing.
Right.
Yeah. I think
and
that's
with
huge.
fitness, the thing that is hard to understand is you probably spent your whole life feeling like this is a burden you carry and you struggle with every single day and you think about it all the time. It takes 20 minutes to do a fucking workout.
Stop.
It takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You spent 9 hours today thinking about when you were going to get that workout and it took 20 minutes. So if I spent the whole day worrying about it, here's my deal. Act or don't stress about it. If you're not going to do anything, get over it.
Yeah.
Like, keep it moving.
I love it.
But it takes 20 minutes.
I feel like we're getting such a good dose of what it would be like to work with you. I'm one of those people that I thrive off of like brutal honesty. I love brutal honesty because I think it promotes the most amount of growth. It promotes the best in me. It doesn't always feel good, but I think that's exactly what people need in order to actually create a change in their life. They don't need somebody that's going to like tell them all the nice things and present things all nice. They need someone that's going to be like you. It's going to say it how it is, say it how it's, you know, the real way.
I feel like I'm getting that from you too, that it's like, but it's not just, I'm going to fucking throw this in your face. It's, I have the empathy, like we have the empathy to understand that this is hard. Mm-hmm. I think that's what happens. We almost like, we trivialize the information that we're throwing at people and make them feel small.
Right.
But it's like, no, this is fucking hard.
Yeah.
I feel that. I know what you're feeling. Doesn't matter. Do it.
Yeah. Do the hard thing anyways.
Get to work. Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, as we are wrapping up here, if someone wants to work with you for coaching or grab one of those spots, I'm not sure exactly when this will air, if it's right before or right after the new year, but if they want to grab one of those spots or contact you, where should they go?
It's a little tricky. I make it really hard on you guys because I constantly change my bio and my websites and all that stuff. Okay. But the best thing to do is just click the, if you want to, you can click the email button in my bio and just send me a message asking for my Calendly link. That's really the easiest way. You're going to have to go through, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops before I bring you on. You got to get on a call with me. I got to see, like I said, I say no to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But if you think you're ready, if nothing will stop you anyway and you don't really need me, message me.
I love that.
Because, I mean, yeah. You're going to figure out a way to do it, whether you find me or not.
Yeah.
So let me help you.
I love it. Laura, thank you so much for being on today's show. I feel like you just shared so much that people are going to be able to learn from. So I appreciate your time so much on a Friday night.
Thank you for having me. This has been a really good chat. I'm glad we waited till we turned the podcast on.
I know. Same. We were talking so much before that I was like, shush, please don't. This is gold. Please bring it out on the show. So guys, do me a favor. If you felt like this podcast was valuable in any way, please tag myself. Also tag Laura. Her Instagram, all of her websites, anything related to her is going to be linked down below. So if you guys want to know more, make sure to do that. Make sure to reach out to her and actually DM her, because you never know. Your DM may hit on a day when, you know, maybe she's having a hard day or something, and your DM comes through and really like lights her day up. So if you guys want to kind of be a part of this energy exchange, if you felt like you got something, I just ask you to also give something. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to rate and review the podcast on your way out, and I will see you guys in the next episode.